The Satoshi alien will help you understand technology and cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and believe you like it. The Satoshi alien will help you understand investments and make money, so come listen to the aliens guidance. Listen to the
All right. So, guys, welcome to the show. As always, this is not financial advice. Today we're talking about Fastly, we're talking about AMP, we're talking about Filecoin, and we're talking about
Palantir,
Palantir.
right? One of the best companies to protect the country. And speaking of country, we're going to also talk about blockchain voting and why it hasn't happened yet.
And I learned that Palantir is responsible for Bin Laden's death, which is awesome.
Gotta love tech, gotta love America. And if Apple's AR glasses are number one aesthetically pleasing, because that's the big deal, right?
Like, they will be, man. They know style. That's their thing, you know.
Because like Google Glass failed because you look like a Super Saiyan, you know, with that one eye cover, right? And like if you look at some of the headsets out there now, like VUZI's headset, it doesn't look pretty by any means, right?
Yeah.
Their prototype for their next one looks really cool, but at the end of the day, you want it to be just like a regular pair of glasses where no one can even know that's different, right? And
well, you know what? That's like the holy grail.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna get there anytime soon. Like, think of what would be like the holy grail for a smartphone. Because I've been thinking about it lately, and I'm like, a smartphone that's completely glass, you could see through, that's lightweight, right? And maybe like you wouldn't even like need it to necessarily be your personal device. Like you would just be able to pick up something compatible, put your fingerprint, and it automatically would be your device. Something like that. That would be ideal.
Yes.
Right? But like to get there, we probably won't. And I think like that's the same level of having actual looking glasses that like look like regular glasses and everything that are smart. I think like we're not there for like 100 years, but we get really, really close to that.
It would be really cool if the lenses upscale your eye vision, right? Like your eyesight. So I don't need to get like my prescription done at the optometrist. I can just throw on my Apple glasses and it senses how blind I am and then lets me see. Like that would be cool.
Yeah, I could see that. I wonder if like they would maybe make wearing a headset kind of cool, right? Because if you can make it cool, then you could have bulky, weird headsets, but it's fine because everybody's, you know, thinks it's cool. You can have people walking around with astronaut helmets. As long as you make it cool, right? People used to wear powdered wigs.
You just got to bring it to Milan at the fashion show and have a couple of, you know, famous models put it on, and then boom, there you go. You got a hit product.
I'm so bad at fashion. I was talking to this girl once, and she loved fashion and all that stuff, and she was sending me pictures of like some runway, and I just sent her a picture of the Hunger Games. I think like somebody had memed it before. Like I don't think it was an original thought, but dude, it was the same exact thing.
Right.
Like, outfits in the Hunger Games and like whatever they were wearing in Milan were literally you could have interchangeably switched it back and forth.
I don't understand fashion at all. I shop at The Gap on Black Friday and I buy all my clothes for the entire year because it's half off, and then I never shop again for the rest of the year. So I don't know anything about fashion.
I just stick to jeans on sale and silly t-shirts. That's
Yeah.
just what I go to.
That's all you need as a guy, right? Like, I don't know what else you would want to wear.
Exactly.
This is interesting. I just got the email for the trade updates from ARK, and they bought Facebook today.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they bought some Unity, right? A little Unity, a little Tesla,
Ooh.
and a couple other smaller stocks, but nothing crazy.
I think I front ran them today a little bit.
Yeah, of course, right? Well, Facebook was attractive today on the 200-day test, and that's probably when ARK stepped in, honestly.
Makes
It
sense.
bounced off there. But, yeah. Unity is one that, like, I own a decent amount. It's not a huge position. I would own more, though, but I just don't have any money left. Like, I have a couple of bucks left I'm holding. I don't know where I want to put it. And we'll see. But Unity's, I think, a really interesting company that ties back to the thematic of AR, VR that we were talking about.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And, have you ever like used any of their products?
I've played Overcooked on my PlayStation. It's like a little crappy game that you make like, you know, hamburgers on, but it's addictive and fun.
Oh yeah. No, I told you I made that game for my son.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like a super simple count to 5 game. Using their product, it's super intuitive. It's really not hard if you have like some basic understanding, and if you know what, if you have patience, you don't even have to have understanding. If you have patience to sit there and just like go through like a lesson or two, or and just go through the motions, you could pick it up. It's just time. But after using that, I'm definitely bullish Unity.
Definitely. And I think there's use cases that are so abundant outside of gaming that people aren't aware of, right? Kind of like when we go back to Matterport, where you can map the real world and bring it digitally. Unity's bringing the digital world to the real world. So it's like the opposite effect. And it's so limitless, right? Like the metaverse is coming, and it's coming very quickly.
It's going to make the world a better place, honestly. I saw a meme, I think I retweeted it or something like that, but it was basically like kids already have AR, right? Give them a cardboard box and, suddenly a spaceship or whatever. But like adults need something like that. You can make the world a little better. I saw this one video. Somebody had a demo of they were going down this escalator and people were going up, right? And the headset would track the face and switch the mouth to a smile.
It's pretty cool.
Everyone you looked at was just smiling at you. Like little things like that. They're silly, but I feel like they could really make the world sillier and funnier and overall better,
Yeah, and going back to that Substack about patents, Disney had a patent today that I read where so like you have like an overlay of an object that you bring into AR, like let's say a pair of sneakers, and like you overlay your foot, but as you walk, the image is not going to stay with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with a patent, and we'll see how it executes, where the image stays onto the location that it's tagged to. So like it travels with you. And I imagine that's going to create a really cool dynamic for Disney World, where like maybe you go to a haunted mansion, you put your glasses on, you open the door, a bunch of ghosts come at you. Maybe like you're in the Toy Story world and Woody's hanging out next to you, like crazy stuff like you don't know, right?
That's true, man. That's very true. And I think that blending of like AR and VR is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, just take it away as an investor, but just as a user, it's going to be so much fun to just put that on and like really feel like you're flying around, or really feel like you're with your favorite character or something like that.
Yeah, where 3D failed was you had no use for it. Like, oh, cool, I'm watching the movie Gravity and I feel like I'm spinning in space. Like, that's fun, I guess. It's giving me a headache. But like when you can actually interact with these objects, or like have a different interaction like that, that's really like a submersive experience. It's pretty cool.
And have you heard about OpenAI and like GPT-3?
No, school me.
New conversational.
Oh yes, like, it writes like a like language, right?
Yes, and it sounds like a person, and you could have a conversation with it, and it pulls information from the internet and talks to you. Yes. It does a pretty good job. Like you can kind of tell it's a little off, but for the most part, for like a simple conversation, you really can't tell, right? And so that's super dangerous, man.
Right.
But take that away, right? And just let's look at the fun aspect of it. I saw this demo of somebody put GPT-3 and like speech recognition and processing into an NPC in a game, right? I think they did it as a demo, but that means you could have like real world conversations with these people. It was hilarious. It was I think we retweeted it. Did you see it?
I don't think I've seen that one in particular, but I'll look through our tweets and check it out. That sounds funny.
Dude, could you imagine just playing a game and then like you just befriend an NPC and just have these conversations with them? And
Right.
you play the game like 3 hours, but 2 of those hours you literally just talk to some fishermen.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Like, obviously they can be weird and different, but if that increases socialization, I don't think there's.
Hey, we're talking about talking to an NPC.
Right, like whatever. Sometimes you're lonely. Like let people live their best.
That's true. If you're talking to a fisherman NPC.
Right. I don't know what kind of video game you're playing where you have a fisherman next to you, but
yeah, that's true.
Fishing simulator, right? They have crazy games like that, I guess.
I wonder how many people like those RPG games where you go to different towns, there's like a million different NPCs and they all say like one sentence, like
It's so annoying, right?
Yeah, like how many people talk to every single NPC? Right?
It's the worst. I try to avoid them.
Yeah, now I don't, but I remember like being young, like as a kid, dude, I would try to get 100% completion on everything.
Oh yeah, when you're like playing Pokemon for the first time, like you want to talk to everybody in the village.
Of course, bro. You have to know what's going down in Palatown.
Right, right. Oh man. So, any stocks in particular or crypto that you want to talk about, or
I want to call to attention the price action of AMP. Have you seen it?
I like because like we talked about with Bitcoin earlier, I tune out when it's an asset that I'm blind holding no matter what. So I haven't followed the past day or two, but I did notice it has some strength holding the high twos. How is it looking?
Yeah, still has that strength, man. And at 5 cents, it was just kind of such a crazy run. Like there was no way it was going to hold that. That just didn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, it had to consolidate and come back down. And I
Yeah.
feel like the strength we're showing in the face of like a massive sell off, right? Like it's pretty much held its value independent, I feel like, of what's going on with Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's like kind of uncorrelated because Bitcoin was going up, AMP was still holding, slightly trending down, but it was still holding on like decent volume. And Bitcoin started going down, and AMP went down, but it didn't go down like some of the other alts, right? Like we went from 3 cents to like 0.26, or something like that, 0.25. And there's like pretty strong, solid support throughout if you look at the order book and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I think we definitely have multiple legs up in the future. I have no doubt about that whatsoever.
Yeah, I think when you look at that rise from out of nowhere to like 5 cents, a lot of people will automatically jump and say, "Oh, pump and dump," right? It's just like Dogecoin or some other asset.
Yeah.
When you have a good product that's super thin, uh, one big buyer will move the asset, right? Like there's one stock in particular that I own, Ondas, ONDS, and anytime like you can just tell when Ophir Gottlieb is buying it because he moves the price before he tweets it out. Like everyone thinks, oh, he tweeted out, it's pumping, but if you like actually look at the time and sales and the timestamp, him like purchasing shares himself because it's so thin in such a small order book is moving the price, right?
Oh, wow.
And I think AMP is the same way where like one or two, maybe a couple of big whales come in, they're trying to accumulate themselves and then they can't help it but move the price, right? Because there's not as much demand present. And then they're not
There's so
selling
much staking.
Right, right. And I don't think they're selling it or like pump and dumping. They probably just pulled their bid and naturally because there isn't that huge buyer, it just kind of came back to more of a middle ground. And they'll bid it back up because they're gonna want more. A good, asset always is something you need more of.
Well, here's the thing, too. I mean, we potentially have a Coinbase listing, Binance listing, and in my opinion, that happens at the end of the year, straight up, right? So we pumped on no news
Yes.
other than just being awesome. They're a great project. There's so much going for them. They did not drop one new tidbit of information, right, at the end of the day. Yet, we know what's coming down the pipe. We know we have more merchants, right? What does that mean? That means more volume. What does that mean? That means when the network officially hard launches, right? That's more power market buying AMP and giving it back to the stakeholders. That is such a great dynamic. People, I think, who are getting into it right now are just starting to find that out.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a couple of people online who are like, we're all bullish on AMP and then it sells off. And now they're like, oh, I gotta sell this. And it's just like, why'd you buy it in the first place? It's like realistically, what is it? It's like 2.5 to 3 cents. Like, give the asset a chance to actually fulfill its potential.
It was half a penny,
Right.
a month or two ago.
Right.
But the thing is, if you did the work to look into it, then you know that it was just a matter of time.
Yeah. I was someone who jumped on the train a little bit later than you. Like we initially kind of started into it around the same time, and then I moved the money to ETH because I thought that was a better asset at the time, and I wasn't sure that AMP had the potential it did. Mm-hmm. Then as I saw the adoption increase, and the staking come live, I realized how potentially awesome this product is because they were fulfilling their roadmap, right? They weren't just like, here's a white paper, look what we might do. They were actually doing it, and that's awesome.
And then you got to look at like the power moves they make. They have McKinsey consulting for them. They have, they're consulting with them. They have the Winklevoss behind them.
Yeah.
They have their own section of the Gemini app. When you go to Gemini Pay, that's powered by AMP. Those are Flexer rails.
Right. And no one knows about that, right? Like It's a brand new product that's not publicized. There's no marketing. There's no promotion, right? They're not giving Shamath, 8 million amp coins for $50, right? They're organically just letting it rock. And that's a product I could trust when they do it organically like that.
Exactly. You can tell that they're not approaching this with like, listen, we're going to try our best this bull cycle, and then that's it. Like, no, they've had this plan. They started the company in a bear market.
Yeah.
This has been a great idea, something that needs to happen to further the entire crypto ecosystem.
So maybe you can help me out because my only complaint is the merchants that they have listed on Gemini Pay are very small, right? There's only a handful. Is there any talk or any idea of them expanding to more of an open ecosystem with like being able to use it anywhere, or what's
Definitely. There's definitely that. And they're also going to add more merchants, I think, by the end of the year. I think they probably had a way to go about how they were launching the SDK, right, to do online payments. They had a way they were going to market and launch in general. But I think what happened with the pandemic, right? How are you going to show everybody how to spend crypto in stores, when you can't go to stores? So it became very ill-timed for them probably to proceed with their original plan. And, they put their focus on the online aspect. I think that's going to go live this year at some point. Then you're going to be able to pay with crypto, and the merchant's going to be able to get whatever they choose. So you could pay with Dogecoin and they can get euros,
Yeah, because I'm really looking forward to it. And I think it'll really take off when this happens, when I can go into my local bodega or grocery store and be able to operate through their Square reader or whatever Clover reader they have, and no one even knows what's going on. They just seamlessly, like, quickly, boom, bam, and I think that's going to be when things explode, when it's everywhere in that small business.
Exactly. And the AMP way to do it is really the right way to do it in terms of, look, you don't have to get a new point of sale terminal. You don't have to, spend money to get this new infrastructure. We're going to work directly with the point of sale provider, right? They have the partnership with NCR, the partnership with Clover, and they're integrated like that. So all you have to do is just update the software. It's virtually nothing, not hard for you as a business owner. And then you're saving that 2 to 3% swipe fee that you would be getting from MasterCard and Visa.
And I think the fact that you can do fiat to fiat even, right? That's definitely a very encouraging thing. We'll see how they operate. I'm very intrigued by it. Do you think there's any chance that Jack embraces it with Cash App or no?
Anything's really possible, right? He could totally do it. But, people say, oh, look, like Visa's getting into crypto now. MasterCard's getting into crypto now. It doesn't look good for Flexa. Like, why? It looks great for them. They're crypto. They're not a crypto company. They're a payments company, but they are crypto native. The team, actually, the people who are running it, they know crypto. They know that it's more efficient. They know how to work it. If you're going to bet on somebody, it's not like the outsider coming in who has their completely different legacy system. You can't count on them to innovate. You count on the people who know payments and know crypto and how to merge those two things.
That's the thing. When a big legacy provider or company comes into a new field, a new market, it brings confirmation that the market's real, right? Amazon getting into telehealth confirms that telehealth is something that's going to stick, right?
Yes.
Visa and MasterCard getting into crypto and blockchain shows you that they're real. And the payments total addressable market, it's in the trillions. And capture like 1% to give you a life-changing return. So
if there's numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but they get 1% of the retail spend. That's like at least a $50 billion network.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a $50 billion market cap for the AMP token, because the AMP, like Flexa, doesn't make money, right? All the value of the network is accrued onto the token. So that's in and of itself. They benefit when the token goes up, just like the holders do.
Right. Yeah. As a small holder, I am definitely looking forward to seeing the future.
Definitely. I'm very excited, and I got full faith in the project. And, as of with all things, if it didn't work out, what are you going to do, right? You move on. But this is a noble thing, I think, to be invested in. trying to get payments going for crypto.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like you want to own great technologies that change the world. That's why I'm bullish on Fastly, and I'm dealing with the monster haircut and the monster headache I get every quarter, right?
Yeah.
Because edge
Hell of
computing.
a trade, though.
Oh, no. When you catch. So here's the thing with Fastly. You don't buy when it's at $100 or $90. You buy after the earnings report when it sells, right? Like I'm the idiot that buys always too high. And then I'm like, crap, I have no money now. I need more, but I have no money.
Can I tell you the funny thing is, like, you know so much more about Fastly than I do. I literally don't look into it. Like, I just found out about the edge computing stuff. Because of you recently. And I traded it pretty perfectly.
Right.
Because I know nothing about it. I've been buying it like 80 and selling it in the 100. Like 100, 110.
It's been, no, but it's
like 2 or 3 times. Like however many times it took those trips.
Right. Because it's like an easy, repeatable trade. And I think the problem with Fastly and why this happens so often is very simple. Number one, retail doesn't understand Fastly, and Wall Street, for the most part, doesn't understand Fastly. And here's the thing, right? Have you ever heard of edge computing aside from our discussion the other day?
No. And for everybody who doesn't know, we didn't address this earlier, but we did a discussion. We did a podcast, and the sound didn't record.
Yeah. So you're getting the secondary show that's completely different from the first show.
Yeah.
We have anything there. But we'll bring back Fastly to the discussion. Edge computing is really awesome, and it hasn't even released yet. And here's the difference between a traditional content or application delivery network and what the edge does, right? So Fastly is a CDN and an ADN, actually. So content and application delivery network. And they basically enable it so we can have this interaction where I go on a website and I can activate and use the website, right? Mm-hmm. If you go on something like Pinterest or Amazon, you'll see a very quick user experience, right? Mm. Because Fastly is their customer, or rather their Fastly's customer. You got Motley Fool. Motley Fool runs on Fastly servers. CML Pro does as well. And it's a great product. You can actually tell it, right? Mm. If you're second guessing whether or not Fastly is a real company, go on one of those websites I just mentioned, and then go on a website run by your state government. You'll notice the difference. It's discernible, right? Like try to get a vaccine done, appointment made, and you'll never load the screen, or go to the post office. You'll never load the screen. Yeah. And that's amazing. But Fastly is running that on their pretty much like their old world technology. What the edge does is it takes you from this far off server that's like many miles away from you, probably in a different state in some cases, right? Mm. And it brings the server right next to you, essentially, right? The edge puts you so much closer to the server that makes it possible for this, like,
how?
It brings the server closer to you by basically putting you in a location where it operates more localized, essentially, right? Okay. And if you want to go more into detail, there's some really good articles about this, and you can find them on Software Stack Investing. They go into depth about Fastly and POPs and things like that, far more than I can because I'm not necessarily a tech guy. But what I really like about them is the potential for the edge for one particular reason, right?
So essentially it speeds up loading of websites super fast, right?
Right.
And it's important when the more data you're dealing with, you're going to need that speed.
Exactly.
Right. Especially for like VR, AR, things we were talking about before.
Right. And to the next point, it's really important for what's not even here yet, which is AI in your car, autonomous driving, for the Internet of Things, right? To have that city of connectivity, you need the edge to bring that all together without any latency, right? Mm-hmm. So when you have a full self-driving car and you have a full self-driving network where everyone on the road's full self-driving and your red light is pretty much like technology enabled, it's not a traditional red light, everything's operating within each other, right? They are in the network and they're talking and communicating. If you have a latency issue where like the red light takes 5 seconds longer to turn red than it's supposed to, right? Because of a software glitch, or maybe it turns green too quickly or something, you're going to have a chaotic situation, right? Because the machines aren't communicating. One's going to think something else is going to happen and there'll be an issue. The edge makes it possible for everything to work almost like immediately, essentially is
Wow.
immediately to the naked eye, right? And Fastly's at the forefront of that. And them and Cloudflare are the two main players, but Fastly, from a developer standpoint, has what's looked at as the better technology, right? And then you factor in the Signal Sciences acquisition, which gives them a layer of security on top of that edge, which is really important, right? Because having data is great, having a network is great, but if there's no security to protect it, a hacker is going to come in and create even more chaos than without it, right? So they're giving you a multi-pronged product. It just hasn't released yet. It's in beta. Um, I've read some interviews with the CEO, and without going into too much detail because it's from a paid service, CML Pro. I get no money out of it, but I've made a ton of money from them, so I do think it's worth it. Um, you're hearing a lot of really good product usage cases where companies who are using the edge are very happy, and you're hearing about a expected growth rate that might look meager in comparison to Snowflake that's growing 140% a year, but it's a very consistent idea that's going to do well.
Hmm.
And I think Fastly is a great opportunity on any major weakness like we're seeing. I unfortunately added in like the 90s, so now I'm sitting here with no money, but I do have some money that I can spend. And I'm just trying to decide, do I buy more Fastly or do I buy Twilio or do I just wait and see what happens? So I'm kind of in the in-between section right now. But I do think Fastly is a great opportunity at these prices or lower. If the market sells off, I think you see $66 around that area. And if that's the case, I'll probably get into it a little heavily. I probably will sell some put spreads or something to increase my leverage essentially. And I'll definitely find a way to buy more stock at that level.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for me personally, I'm not allocated to the point where like if it went to zero, like I don't care. Really, it's not gonna affect me that much. But if I saw the 60s, I'd definitely take that shot. So what was the all time high? Like 130?
I think around there, yeah, maybe give or take a few bucks. And it's going to get back there. The fact is, Fastly is only struggling with adding new enterprise clients because they don't do sales, right? They didn't have a head of sales. The CEO was doing it on his free time.
That's wild.
Right. And now they made this amazing hire for their chief revenue officer of Brett Shirk, who is essentially a Silicon Valley legend coming from, I think, Rubrik and coming from VMware, which is where he made, his biggest name because VMware is very well received. And I think this guy can help take them to that next level, right? He's a bit of a rainmaker. So if they can increase their sales, they're in a great opportunity. The CEO doesn't expect them to operate with like a 300 customer base for enterprise. He's expecting their enterprise total addressable market to be like 30,000 to like 100,000 customers.
Hmm.
The total addressable market for data is enormous. It's like growing every day to the point where we have nowhere to put it. And edge computing is going to pull from legacy cloud providers. So they're going to steal business from Azure, from Google, from AWS.
Easily.
Yeah, which I think is honestly going to position them as an acquisition candidate. And I do think they probably at least get bought out or attempted to get bought out over the next few years. And we'll see. I know Cisco has tried to buy them. There's been some rumors of that. To know, dice, because nobody wants to get bought by Cisco. You go to Cisco and you die. That's what happens, right? But I do think that there is an opportunity there. Microsoft or Amazon, one of these players might get into just grabbing them, and you could probably grab them for like $30 billion in cash plus some stock. I mean, that would be a huge markup. It's a $9 billion market cap. Cloudflare is around a $26 billion market cap. So you go at 30, that's a three bagger from here, right? I think they might accept that deal. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, as a shareholder, I'd be happy.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, right? If Fastly is on its own and they deliver the market that they say they can deliver at a $9 billion market cap, I'm very confident that if they deliver everything, it's a 10 bagger. It's going to go to a $100 billion market cap. But that's if they deliver, right? There's a reality that they might not deliver. But I'll weigh my options of 9 billion to 0 versus 9 billion to 100. And I'll take the risk here because obviously one's a bigger opportunity.
Yeah. No, that completely makes sense.
Yeah. And of course, I'm sized appropriately where if it goes to zero, I'm going to be upset with the money I lost, but I'm not going to be damaged by any means.
Exactly. And that's what we talk about the most, right? And that's
Yeah.
the most important thing is making sure that you're managing risk appropriately. You got to look at your portfolio at any time and say, look, if I took a 50% haircut across the board, right, am I good? You
Yeah.
know, and as long as you can say yeah, then it's fine.
Hey, it just happened to me, honestly. I was at 50% like last week or the week before the selling started. And now I'm down to like 25%. It happens quickly, and if you're in good assets, you can live with it.
Exactly. And if you were able to get yourself a little cushion from March to here, it makes it a little easier.
Definitely.
We had a follower reach out to us. She wanted us to talk about Palantir, and I know nothing about Palantir, so you could definitely help me out with this.
Yeah, so Palantir is pretty cool. They actually make their name from the idea that they're the reason Osama bin Laden is dead. Um,
Nice.
yeah, like anytime you can say like, "Oh, we're the reason America killed Osama bin Laden," and you're like, "Oh, cool."
Take
Uh,
my money. Yeah.
right, exactly. No, but what happened was the CIA and the Department of Defense and like all those military branches rely on Palantir's data analytics software,
Mhm.
and their analytics is basically what propelled them to figuring out where Osama bin Laden was and organizing that operation.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
Which is pretty crazy to think like this is a software company that's actually heavily involved in global politics, essentially,
And then you
right?
start to think about they're probably not the only one. Well, they're definitely not the only ones, right?
Right. Like you got to imagine somewhere along the line, maybe a provider down in China might be operating within the Chinese government or whatever. But what's interesting about Palantir is because of their ties to the American government and the American military complex, they're very selective on international opportunities.
Mhm.
So they don't have international expansion at their disposal like a Snowflake would or like a MongoDB would, right?
Mhm.
Um, because it would become a national security risk. And one of the things that was really interesting about Palantir when they came public was they were heavily concentrated on the American government as like their only customer.
Mhm.
Now they're expanding to the private sector, which I think
Nice.
opens up an opportunity now that's pretty abundant, right? Uh, and they're posting decent growth rates. Like you're looking at a compounded annual growth rate that you could probably be confident in seeing of 30% a year, right? And I think that's probably going to happen for the next couple of years. They had a good quarter. I think they had an earnings miss that was a little bit worse than expected, but you live with that because they're growing revenue pretty decently, and it's a product that is needed and very well received. Um, my only qualm about Palantir is that it's not cheap. You're looking at a $50 billion market cap,
Oh wow.
and how much further can it grow, knowing that its customer base is somewhat limited. Having said that,
It's limited, but they have unlimited needs
right.
and the ability to print money.
Right, and here's the thing, right? Like, who's America's never going to abandon them unless they just stop making a usable product. And if you're worried about their potential as an investment, I think you could be confident knowing that ARK has been buying it up on every weakness, right? They bought a ton on Friday, I believe, and they bought more last week.
Oh
So,
wow.
like, they've been coming in and putting a bottom in around that 25 level. And this is a stock that I owned around $10, and I made good money on. I sold it on the way up in like the high 20s.
Mhm.
I would like to kind of consider getting back in if the opportunity presented itself, but I don't know if it will. I would prefer to be long in the low 20s just because, in theory, there is a runway here that's somewhat limited when you're buying a company that's already $50 billion in market cap. But I think it's a safer investment because it's a legacy in of itself. They're not going to go anywhere,
Yeah.
right?
As long as, like we said before, if you take a 50% haircut on something, you'll be all right then. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
especially if you're buying quality.
If Palantir gets cut in half on this market correction, I'm buying it. I'll figure it out. I'll go leverage long because then it's cheap again, right? $15 or lower. That's a good price. Let me quickly pull up the multiple it's trading at, and we'll see where we can go.
Well, I was thinking about this recently, and this is definitely a bigger question. But I
Mhm.
was having this conversation with somebody who's not new to crypto, but they haven't been in since 2017. Like they didn't undergo the crash.
Right.
right? And I think that going through that, like you said, the first episode, it's like a hyperbolic time chamber where like you train at like 10 or 50 times gravity, because so much happens in such a short amount of time. And like, I'm so glad that we went through that because the exuberance we're seeing today, I don't see it as that yet. Right? I don't think it's that crazy. Like, I don't see people reading white papers and, shilling me in my cab.
Yeah. I would be sitting on my lunch break at work. Like I'm supposed to be tutoring kids, but no one shows up and I'm reading a white paper while I wait, and I'm like, oh crap, this is a great white paper. I always go back to Miyota, right? And I'm like, man, this is the best white paper I've ever read. The Tango the world. And I'm just an idiot that doesn't know anything. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a developer. I'm just some guy. But yeah, no, it's very different nowadays. And I wonder if the fact that no one's reading a white paper is a good thing or a
we know people reading white papers.
Yeah, we know a couple. You're right.
But they've been in the game for a little while.
Right.
But in terms of new people, yeah, they're not reading white papers yet, right? They're not. By the time we got it in 2017, every alt had fucking just blew up. Like, and they were still blowing up, but they had gone up like 20x, 50x that year.
Yeah.
Ready. And they were going to go up another like 3 or 4 during that 2-3 months that we were into it.
So I actually the other day was going through my accounts and I was looking at the transaction history, and I was very early in reality to the altcoin and the Bitcoin run a lot earlier than I thought. I thought I got involved in like November, December. I was there like in the summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And on your boys.
Right. Like I didn't even know that it happened. Right. It's crazy.
Well, you didn't get onto Telegram for a while, though, because I think you got onto Telegram after I was on, and then I saw you join, and I asked you if you were, like, dabbling in crypto.
Yeah, I think I downloaded Telegram, but I didn't actually use it. Like, I used it, like, once for maybe, like, an airdrop or something, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to
sit there was an airdrop you sent me, current.
Yeah, you're right. I wonder if we ever got that.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I'm still in the chat. I've never, got in and saw the details.
I gotta go look and find my old MetaMask, or not MetaMask, my old Ether wallet address and check and see if there's any money in it. Because
I have so many, I have so many wallets. I was like playing with it at a point where I was just like, I don't know. I just would make wallets for fun and fucking do shit, and especially when things were cheap and not worth that much. I found like, what was it? 0.3 ETH the other day.
Right.
And that's great now.
Dude, that's huge.
When I lost it, it was probably like, I don't know, $30, $50, something like that. Now, wow.
Yeah, you don't realize how far like a random dollar can go. So I have a brother-in-law who is like, one day I was hanging out with him and he's like, hey, check this out. And he sends me a link to Robinhood. And I'm like, all right, it's the referral. Sure, I'll sign up. And I signed up and I put $5 into the account and they gave me one share of Sprint at the time that was $5. So I sold a share of Sprint. I put my $5 in and I had $10 in total and I put it on Bitcoin because I was like, screw it, $10. This is like 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I look at it now and it's worth like $85, which is like amazing, right?
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. Like, and that shows you the power of just a good asset and just letting things run.
Oh, yeah. And if you don't want to buy Bitcoin, I mean, one of the best things you can do is you can get a Lolly account, right? You can get a Fold card. You can get the Cash App, get the Cash Card, and add the Bitcoin boost when they have them. And so basically you get Bitcoin back for just your regular spending habits.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I found my old address and we can actually check it out and see if there's any money. There's $5 in it. Wow, holy crap.
What do you got?
I got some Zero Chain ZCN. I have $5 worth of that. I don't even know what that is.
Somebody sent that to you.
Yeah.
Scams, yeah.
That was one of those random airdrop scams. Like, can I even sell this anywhere?
One of the best things about high Ethereum fees, right? You can't have that spam. Apparently, the rumor is Binance is spamming the Ethereum network to promote Binance Smart Chain.
I'm not
That's the rumor.
So, I know you wanted to talk about Filecoin. You want to jump into that, or?
Yeah. So what do you know about Filecoin?
So I think I heard about Filecoin last bull market. and it sounded kind of interesting. I think they do like decentralized data storage, right? Like I can store data on like your computer.
Exactly. So they essentially it's that it's decentralized file storage, peer to peer, right? And people get incentivized to provide the storage because they're getting paid, and the people who are using the storage are paying. I mean, it's pretty straightforward in terms of that. Obviously, it's more complicated because you're dealing with it's a complex piece of technology, but that's the gist of it. I think it's an insanely bullish concept. And I think permissionless tools in general are just going to be bullish, right? The more you see censorship and things like that, whether however you feel about it, I mean, it's just going to push people towards products and projects that nobody has control over. So that way they can't be controlled.
So I think something like this is a very interesting product for what you just said for anti-censorship or censorship resistance. But how is it addressed for people who might use it for nefarious activities? Is there like any safeguard around it? Like I know it's decentralized, but is it fully or
I would believe it's private. I don't know if somebody's hosting something that's like nefarious, if you could really take it down necessarily. I guess you could maybe do something with the miners and make the miners sort of there has to be maybe if you get a court order and you get all the miners and you make them do something like that, but you'd have to coordinate the miners. It's a chain after all, it's a proof of work coin. There's sorry. There's miners who are in charge of taking the files and storing them into like different shards and placing them on different computers. That way if you lose one, you're not losing everything and stuff like that. And you also want to make it hack proof. If you're storing information on somebody else's servers or computers, right, you don't want them to have access to that information. So I'm sure there's safeguards in place. I have not looked into it, to be completely honest with you, because mostly I'm looking at it as a play for the next year. Right. I think that we're in a bull market for the next 9 to 22 months. So when I look at Filecoin, I see a project that's legit. It's actually has a utility. It's doing something. And on top of that, I can get 7% a year on Gemini Earn. So my strategy is simple. Just buy the dips, put it into Earn, stack the 7%. And when I'm hit the levels that I'm comfortable with, I'll sell most of my position and I'll keep my moonshot, just like with everything else.
I think when you look at the earn potential, that gives you a nice, passive income. And as long as we're in the bull market, you're leveraging your money essentially by just buying Filecoin on weakness. That's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, and like, you know what? At the end of the day, am I putting all my money into Filecoin? Absolutely not. What I'm doing is I'm taking a calculated risk. I'm looking at my reward potential, at least 7%. I'm making that in Filecoin, right? On top of this coin that's a proof of work coin, right? That's serving a purpose, that there potentially will be users who want this coin to store files and they might have an incentive to use Filecoin and not some centralized provider, right? If those people are out there, they're going to probably use Filecoin. So that's users. We're in a crypto bull market, right? So you're going to be more risk taking, obviously, because all the alts are pretty much going to go crazy on a long enough timeline during this market. So yeah, it really hits all those points for me. And I feel like if I just allocate, a small position, it has a potential. I mean, right now it's trading in the high 30s. I think the all-time high on the Gemini chart is like 120 or something like that.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think it has the potential to go back up, test 120. That's what a lot of these coins have done. They've listed, right? I think AMP did the same. They listed, hit a penny, dropped, consolidated for a couple months, then hit 5 cents. So, like, what are the odds that Filecoin went from 120 to 20? Now it's in the high 30s. I think it almost touched 50, consolidate for a couple months, and then just go straight past 120. That's not out of the realm of possibility. Am I counting on it happening tomorrow? No. But over the next year, is that potentially going to happen? Yeah. It's not a bad bet.
And I think when you have Bitcoin that's going to eventually trade at $100,000 a coin, that's a turnoff for a lot of smaller fish, right?
Yes.
And that's when they start getting into alts because they see a cheaper asset. And a Filecoin with utility, with 7% interest, that is something that can draw in a lot of people. So I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad place to take a risk. And, could it go to zero? Of course. What's the chance of it going to zero? I don't think it would go to zero. more likely would retrace like 80% or something before I see it going to zero. You know, so if you're cool with losing 80%, but potentially making like a 10x, I mean, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, you gotta tolerate what you can, right? And it's all about position sizing. That's always what we talk about is size accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
If you have $100,000 account, you're gonna use a different size versus if you had $1,000
Oh, if
account.
you did have $100,000 account, how much would you put to Filecoin?
I wouldn't go 10% because that'd be a little crazy.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like 3 to 5 probably. If I'm bullish on it, 3 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically, I'm like looking at 3.
Yeah, I think that's fair because that's a good return still. I think you want, if you're on an account that size, you want to be skewed towards Bitcoin, a little ETH, and you want to have those opportunities for a nice investment like a Uni or a Wi-Fi or YFI.
Though, if you caught one of those coins at the get for the first pump and then you just hang in there, I mean, potentially, when we look at the charts from 2017, man, like
It was fun.
yeah, like those weird chains that are still around technically, like those things moved, man. Talking about 100x, something
Right. You remember Walton Chain? Well, I don't even remember the ticker. It was a big deal though.
Walton
They-
chain, yeah.
Yeah, they were gonna like verify products. There were so many crappy ones, like Origin Trail was like one where like you can like find out where your food came from. You know, it's like, oh, blockchain, you can log data, and that's cool. But like we were just throwing it anywhere, and it.
Oh yeah, and I remember like having the conversation. We're like, wow, everything is gonna have a coin. Everything's gonna have a coin. And then like the more you learn, you're like, wow, like really nothing fucking needs a coin.
No, what you need is a centralized like blockchain essentially for the vast majority of what's going to happen. We don't like centralized things, but the reality is enterprise is going to want that. So
yeah, they want what's efficient, you know, and like, hey, look, to do a blockchain is a great way to make money, right? That's decentralized where nobody trusts each other. It's like the perfect application, right? I couldn't think of one that's better
right.
for blockchain. Right, we haven't actually seen one because Bitcoin's number one, right?
Right, and I actually came across a SPAC today, TDAC. It's lottery.com, so you can like play the lottery on your phone and the internet. And it was cool. Like I thought the SPAC was cool because it had a $500 million enterprise value at $10 a share. And when you look at a SPAC, they normally come public at these stupid valuations. I have no position, but I thought it was a cool idea. And I was reading up on them. And they claim to be a lottery company that's powered by blockchain. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, can you get any more like buzzwordy than that? Blockchain, lottery.
Cringe.
Right. I'm just like, maybe you need a blockchain for this, but I don't think you do. I don't know.
Yeah, you probably don't.
Right. I think you need a blockchain for voting. There's no reason why we can't vote from home.
Oh, I agree.
Put it on the blockchain.
I think we should be voting for more things. I think that we should be not letting the politicians vote for everything. We should be doing it as informed citizens. And like, if you really care a lot, then you know you're on it more. Like, you know how like Reddit, you probably get awarded little awards and like little privileges and stuff like that. Why not have a system like that where if like you're a good citizen and like you're on top of things and stuff like that, you get little brownie points and like we listen to you a little more maybe. But the second you're, you know, a piece of shit, and then we can easily just dislike you at any time and instantly recall you.
Yeah, I don't want to get started on the whole process because every time I go to vote for like the midterm elections or the presidential election, I'm voting for like 20 people I never heard of, and I know nothing about them, and that's terrible because I shouldn't vote blindly based on my party lines. And I think societal needs are we need to know who we're voting for and why, and that should be made very easily available. But whatever.
You know, young people are like basically sold a used car when it comes to the government and a lot of it. You know, like we get told like, oh man, this is like this great product and like it's amazing, freedom, like all these buzzwords, like it's the best system ever. It really is the best system ever. And you're like, yeah, no, like it's great. Don't get me wrong. You know, there's really amazing stuff there, but like, yeah, we could probably update things a little bit. We can probably make things a little more efficient.
Right. So use a blockchain to vote. Use Okta to secure that I am the user I'm claiming to be, and we go from there. Right. Use Twilio to have that API involved to
Maybe
relay
like not vote on Tuesdays.
right.
What is the point? Like nobody's bringing their goods to market anymore. Why did we keep that rule? That makes literally zero sense. It should just be, hey, look, here's the day. Everyone's gonna have this day off because we have holidays for other things. Why not have a holiday for the most important thing? You know, that at least we're claiming it to be one of the most important things. So why not give everybody the day off so they can go and talk about what they're doing and have like intelligent conversations and, you know, incentivize that instead of fighting in the streets.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch it because I think voter suppression is a real thing, but we're not going to get into that. And I agree.
But yeah, that's definitely part of voter suppression. And I don't even think it's like a left or right thing, man. I think it's like an establishment.
Yeah,
type of
it's a
deal.
class thing because on a Tuesday,
You only want the people who are going to vote for you to vote at the end of the day, no matter who you are.
right? And on a Tuesday, if I'm working a high-end job, I can just leave whenever I want. If I'm someone in the lower class environment and I have to work 2 jobs, how am I going to find time to have 2 jobs and then wait online to vote for some guy that's not going to help me?
But then the worst part is it's celebrated. It's like, look at this guy. He waited 6 hours online to vote. It's like, why did he wait 6 hours online to vote? Why did you let him do that? He's a great guy. Thank you for doing that, sir. But why was this acceptable?
Why can't he use his iPhone to do it?
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah,
So stupid.
Can do banking, right? Can you send money to people? Yeah. Can you verify your identity in like 50 million different ways on your phone? Yeah. Why can't you vote?
You have facial recognition, you have fingerprint scanning, enable that and force that to be done. And boom, there you go. You just solved the crisis.
Well, you know what? I would even say like, hey, give the option to say who you voted for if you want to. You don't have to, right? There's no like whatever, but if you want to, just to add a little variability, right? You could choose like, hey, I'm not going to shield my vote. And then you could go and check and make sure it really counted because you don't trust the system.
Yeah. Right? There's no transparency. There's a lot of problems. And hopefully we address that. And neither party is perfect. They both kind of suck in a lot of ways. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, they both definitely suck.
Yeah.
The Satoshi alien will help you understand technology and cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and believe you like it. The Satoshi alien will help you understand investments and make money, so come listen to the aliens guidance. Listen to the